Several factors.
The main Troll Factory product is internet sock puppeting. Is when people use different accounts and pretending to be real people, but they are not, and they have technical assignments where it's said directly what they must say and what point of view they have to promote.
You fucking bullshit.
En amerikansk soldat som skjuter hål i Koranen. Bordeller för sex med djur i Danmark. Träningsläger för IS-soldater i Ukraina. Alla dessa historier på sociala medier är tillverkade i Ryssland och alla är falska. Vilka är det som hittar på alltihop? Och varför fortsätter de att sprida fejkade nyheter? I dokument utifrån Lögnfabriken.
We are on our way to one of the biggest sand mines in St. Petersburg region. A place where we're going to find this stone here. There is a small chance we are going to find it. Why we are going to find it? Because this stone appeared on a fake video of a guy dressed like an American soldier who shot the sacred Muslim book.
I'm gonna shoot this fucking shit. You fucking bullshit. Whoa. Look at this. This is too fucking.
He uses a Russian gun to shoot the Quran to discredit basically US Army.
I call the hearing to order.
How did Facebook somehow not make the connection that electoral ads paid for in rubles were coming from Russia?
I don't want journalism to be a lie, to be fake. So if you produce fake stories, nobody trusts journalists anymore. In Russia, it's more difficult to be a journalist because more often journalist means liar.
Our job is to explain that most of the news they see on Russian TV is actually like Russian Hollywood. That is all fake from the very start to the very end.
My name is Andrew Soshnikov. I'm an investigative journalist. I'm 27 years old, and I'm keen on debunking fake news that are spreading through the media.
We're gonna show this book from 20 years.
The Troll Farm published this video on 9/11. They used this date to promote their evil agenda. And the first media outlet who paid attention to it was The Nation News. Officially, The Nation News is registered on Savushkina Street 55 in St. Petersburg, which is the same address of Troll Farm. And now they spreading this video of a guy who shot down the Quran. So before visiting this place, I've checked lots of former sand mines in St. Petersburg area. The thing is why we've chosen this place is the texture of a sand. So see this texture gray lines on the mountain. You can see them on the video, you can see them there. It's a little bit unusual because the sand here is gray. So we've been there for a couple of hours, and there are lots of stones like the stone we're trying to find, but there are so many of them. Is there a chance they could film the fake video there? It is. The surroundings look the same, the color of the sand look the same, stones look the same, but we are not sure. The main troll factory product is internet sock puppeting. Is when people use different accounts and pretending to be real people, but they are not, and they have technical assignments where it's said directly what they must say and what point of view they have to promote. So what they are producing? They're producing comments, blog posts, they're producing videos, they are producing forum topics, they're producing fake news, simply fake news, all types of fake stories.
My name's Ben Nimmo, and I study online propaganda and disinformation for the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab.
Good. Long day today, but all good.
The Troll Factory really kicked off in 2011 and 2012. You have the biggest protest against Putin he's ever seen. There were large-scale street protests in major Russian cities against his re-election, and the atmosphere is very, very skeptical about him, and particularly the debates going on online. It's happening on the social media, it's happening on internet forums. So it's the internet and the social media where the opposition are organizing themselves.
There are such things as journalistic standards. There is the obligation to preserve due impartiality and due accuracy.
It looks like what happened was officials in the Kremlin sat down and realized that the internet is this uncontrolled space where Russians can say what they want. And what they want to do is complain about Putin being in power again. And so what it's trying to do is effectively take what had been a free space, which was the internet, and turn it into a space where you have a pro-Kremlin troll army taking over. That was how it started. But with any kind of capability, what you'll see is once somebody's developed the capability, they're going to think, well, now I've got this capability, what else can I do with it?
You can find digital proofs, you can make digital investigations. Because when people interact through social media, everything they do from on social media, they leaving lots of footprints, lots of digital footprints. And I'm the guy who is checking these digital footprints.
Wow, this is a bullshit. Man, what motherfucker. God, the shit they done to this
He tries to sound like African American, but his English, it's even much worse than mine. That's something.
fucking bullshit.
The first thing you see is this is not an actual uniform of American Army. You can buy this costume in every store with the military clothes or extreme sport. This helmet is not a military helmet, it's for base jumping. Some Syrian soldiers saw it and published their reaction on Facebook. It's too harmful to watch this video if you are radical. It's like a bomb. This video can be a trigger for you.
This is too fucking. Man. This is bullshit, nigga. I hate this motherfucker.
The troll farm staffs were fanatically doing selfies all the time. One picture was with a man who looks like the actor on the video. I had to download the full video and find the only moment, the only second when he looked at the camera. And then I found his account. So we measure the size of the ear and how it goes with the size of the face. So this is the guy. So please, when you use this footage, please make something with his face so people won't find him. Because I don't want him to be killed or something.
No. And you think he's in danger?
He's in danger now because he participated in this and he had a contract with the troll farm, and troll farm is a dangerous place.
My name is Roman Dobrokhotov. I'm editor-in-chief of The Insider. It's an online magazine that is dedicated to journalist investigations. One of our focuses is anti-fake project. So these are investigations on Russian governmental propaganda and how this state propaganda make fake news, fake stories.
Кто из вас позвонит Леонтию?
One of our most interesting investigations was about a lady who lives in Germany, who works for kind of producer for Russian state-owned TV channels, helping them to create fake news.
Волна беженцев накрыла Европу. Что думают жители Германии о благих намерениях фрау Меркель? Смотрите прямо сейчас. Специальный репортаж из Германии. Только на телеканале «Звезда».
Мой муж сказал, чтобы я обязательно каждый день носила баллончик в кармане, газовый баллончик. Вот он у меня всегда с собой.
So she appeared with fake name on our TV channel that is owned by Ministry of Defense, and explained that situation in Germany is in deep crisis because of violent immigrants, that she is also one of the victims of immigrants and so on.
Семья Виктории Шмидт уже всерьез задумалась о возвращении в Россию. Нашествие мигрантов изменило их жизнь в Ганновере на до и после.
Женщина убиралась в том месте, где жили мигранты, но случилось ужасное. Мало того, что ее убили, ее перед этим еще и изнасиловали.
Ладно, ты глянь, если там что-то интересное, то можно, в принципе.
So we found her real name, we found her. We called her pretending to be one of Russian TV channels and asked her everything about how much does it cost to make this kind of fake stories that she makes, how often does she do it, with what channels she cooperated, and recorded all of her answers. So she was very open for us because she thought that she is going to work for us too.
Хотите, я вам озвучу. Я здесь живу давно, замужем за немецким гражданином. Могу озвучить все, что вы захотите.
Ну, это все еще зависит, конечно, от стоимости. Просто я не знаю, честно говоря, какие сейчас актуальные расценки. Вот если бы вы нас сориентировали примерно.
Да, 500 евро дала.
А сколько какой-нибудь там федеральный берет? Там примерно у них какие расценки?
Ну, Первый канал тоже мне 500 платили.
Ну, то есть это рыночная такая цена, да, примерно 500?
Ну, да, начиная от 250 евро, это я
For Vladimir Putin, it is very important to show the situation in the European Union and especially in the most important countries in the European Union, like in Germany, that the situation is very bad, that Europe is in crisis, and so on and so on. That's important to persuade Russian voters that Russia not is an exclusion, that every country has their own problems, and maybe Europe is a little bit richer, but actually there are some problems that are more tough than in Russia itself. So when they can't explain that everything is good in Russia because we see what the situation is here, they can, on the other hand, explain that in other countries the situation is even worse. Our job is to explain that most of the news they see on Russian TV is actually like Russian Hollywood. That is all fake from the very start to the very end. It's very difficult to find real facts on Russian TV because Russian TV is not about facts. It's about picture they want to implant in the minds of Russian population.
Ну, у них просто баг. Now we're going to film the Stop Fake News Digest in Russian. Stop Fake is a project was launched in March 2014, just right after occupation of Crimea. And we launched Stop Fake to refute the untrue information and lies about Ukraine.
А планшет уехал в командировку по проекту.
That's good that we have such news in this time.
Прокремлевские сайты регулярно предлагают новые теории заговора.
Сегодня ровно неделя с того дня, как киевские силовики вошли в оставленный ополченцами Славянск. Как раз этим временем датирована история, которую рассказала нам обитательница лагеря беженцев в Ростовской области. Она говорила о публичной казни.
Взяли ребенка 3 лет, мальчика маленького, в трусиках, футболке, как Иисуса, на доску объявления прибыли.
There is allegedly witness, which is stating on the first channel, Russian, that in Slavyansk, which is a Ukrainian city, Ukrainian militaries crucified, literally crucified boy.
Один прибивав, 2 держали. И вот это все на маминых глазах. Маму держали, и мама смотрела. Вот это все, как ребенок истекает кровью.
But nothing beside her words of this allegedly witness is given as a proof. And there is no footage and no photos. And it was said that it happened all in the center of the city, which is a really small city with not much people living there. And this is important detail because afterwards there were journalists who made the trip there, and they were basically asking everyone on the camera, everyone they've seen, and no one knew anything about this.
Вот буквально это было 2 или 3 дня назад. Первый канал российского телевидения сообщил о том, что в день, когда сюда вошли украинские войска, на этой площади собрали женщин и детей, и якобы убили ребенка.
Нет.
Расскажите, пожалуйста, подробнее, может быть, вы можете
такого
рассказать?
Такого не было, нет.
Такого не слышали, и вряд ли так и было. Если
Вы здесь не были? Вы здесь не были в этот день?
Не были, но если
не слышали. Если бы было так,
слышали, весь бы город знал.
Не было такого. Это все сплетни.
Но вы ни от кого это не слышали?
Не, вообще речи. Если бы на площади было, то мы бы знали, мы недалеко живем, тут бы вся округа знала.
Ясно.
Это все глупости.
This is a pretty used way of manipulation in the Kremlin propaganda to use, a child, basically an innocent person, which looks innocent to all the public, right? And show that Ukrainian military are so merciless, they actually crucify a child.
Basically, what Russia is doing is trying to keep it in the control, so not to let Ukraine evolve, becoming economically stable and a democratic country as part of EU. To me, it wasn't obvious how many fake news is there before we started the project. We decided that the best way is actually to refute just fake after fake and to give people the chance to actually see the pattern and see how it works, to be like an archive of fake news in a way. And that's how the Stop Fake work started. And basically, this is what we still continue to do 3 years after.
А что чуть поменьше, то что ты видишь, оно за логотип залазит. Чуть меньше сделай.
In 1990s, Russia had a free market of journalism. There were lots of newspapers and TV channels, and most of them were independent from the state. Now the situation is different, and when you have only one owner for most of media, which is the state, they have a specific agenda they promote. That's why it's very important not only for audience, but to the whole community of journalists to debunk the lies of their colleagues.
In the early afternoon of July the 17th, 2014, a Boeing 777-200 of Malaysia Airlines departs Amsterdam Airport Schiphol. When flight MH17 is above the eastern part of Ukraine, a Buk surface-to-air missile system fires a missile. Flight MH17 disappeared from the radar at 20 minutes and 3 seconds past 1.
There is a name in this telephone calls, Nikolai Fedorovich.
Николай Федорович, привет. Николай Федорович, да, рад вас слышать. Ну что, как там?
Our first step was to check how many high-ranking military officials they are with name Nikolai Fedorovich. And we actually find only one person with this name. So we needed his voice, and we needed to check if it is the same words. So we made an 15 minutes interview.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Роман Доброхотов, шеф-редактор издания The Insider. Мы звоним по поводу издания Insider.
And then we sent the sample of his voice to two different organizations, one in America, one in Lithuania, and they made a forensic expertise of this voice, and both institutions told us with very high likelihood that this is the same person.
Чем раньше, тем лучше у нас загрузить, замаскировать и увезти.
If we add the likelihood that this is the same name, that is 100% sure that this is the same guy. So we were sure. We published this interview. Of course, he denied any involvement. My theory and the theory of my colleagues is that General Tkachev is responsible for bringing this launch pad that shot MH17 to Ukraine from Russia. It cannot happen without some high-ranking officials involved. We think that Vladimir Putin, as head of the military, is responsible, but also there were concrete military officials who were organizing this. So I think that Dolphin is exactly this kind of person from Russian side, from one of the high-ranking military officials, General Colonel, who was responsible for bringing this missile to Ukraine.
We shouldn't forget that within a few weeks, it was the second Malaysian plane which came down, and this makes it possible that those who died in the airspace of the Ukraine die for the second time because There is no answer to the question why it happened.
Their main idea was to create perception that you will never know who shot down MH17, that we will never know, it's impossible, there are so many theories and so on and so on. But this is very widespread in Russian propaganda, so almost on every topic they try to make this cloud of theories to prove that like truth does not exist. Everything is relative, there are different positions, and you will never know the truth.
It was year 2013. I worked on a local newspaper, and I saw on a social network a very small message from a woman. She had a very strange interview when she applied for a job. And the only question she was asked was, what's your attitude to Kremlin and the current political situation. She said, I'm against it, I'm strongly opposite. And they say, goodbye, you're not our kind of person. I asked for a phone number that was used to establish this interview. I made a fake story that I'm like a teacher and I want a new job. So I came to this troll factory, Finnish style business building, and I worked there undercover as a journalist for 1 day. I was told to write stories from different profiles. So I had to act, but I'm not an actor. Then I published the story, and a couple of months later, I had an insider there. Her name is Ludmila. She worked there for 1 month and some weeks. And she told me from the starting point that she wanted to close it down. I said, please send me as much materials about it as you can, so we can understand the agenda, how it works. Please meet Lyudmila Savchuk, one of the bravest person I've ever met. She infiltrated the notorious Russian troll army in 2015 as an independent journalist. Чем они там занимаются? Что там происходит на самом деле?
На самом деле, ежеминутно, ежесекундно, и каждые круглые сутки, без выходных и праздников, они пишут про кремлевские комментарии, не только комментарии. То есть это статьи, потому что там сидят и журналисты вот эти фейковые, да. Там снимаются видеоролики, там делаются картинки, вот эти демотиваторы бесконечные. То есть они не знают персоналей, которых они очерняют и восхваляют. Или Бориса Немцова, и буквально через минуту, через 5 на всех новостных крупнейших ресурсах и во всех соцсетях посыпались сотни и тысячи комментариев. Я увидела, как это делается. По всей фабрике забегали вот эти вот начальники и сказали, все перекидываются на тему Немцова, пишем так. Российская власть не виновата, ее пытаются очернить, оппозиция сама убила своего, ну и так далее. Я увидела, насколько... Во-первых, тролли, ну, обычные тролли не знают, кто такой Немцов, и они писали о нем ужасные вещи. О нем писали ужасные вещи даже те, кто, в принципе, знал, кто такой Немцов, и, ну, понимал и важность этой фигуры. Ну, какие-то были тролли постарше, но они все равно писали то же самое. То есть думают они одно, а пишут другое. А для вот людей, которые выступают против этой системы, против власти, я увидела просто сигнал такой, что теперь можно валить кого угодно.
Самые обычные, такие же, как все, ничего особенного. Разных возрастов, разных интересов. Там, обычные люди просто, ничего такого. На какие темы, о чем конкретно мы писали? Тема Украины, это чаще всего было именно вот стрельба, война в ДНР, там, про Киев, про Порошенко, про вот эти всякие изменения на Украине в их политике. Часто вот про Россию, про экономику мы писали. Писали про Запад, НАТО, про перестрелки в США. То есть, ну, вот это самые популярные были темы такие. Я не воспринимала это, как вот многие там говорят, там, предательство Родины там, или что-нибудь такое. Как бы работа и работа, как бы все. Ничего больше. В принципе, нам и руководители на работе также говорили, что как бы вы приходите, вы просто делаете работу, как бы, мы платим вам за это деньги, в общем. Как бы, если кого-то не устраивает, мы не держим. Как бы я...
И затем, когда я выступила, обнародовала вот эти материалы о фабрике и выступила уже с публичным разоблачением, то же самое, вот этот механизм начал работать против меня. То есть с разных аккаунтов и разные звонки, даже не напрямую, а вы не боитесь, там, у вас дети. Осторожно вы спрашивали, что да как, и потом увенчали этот разговор, значит, а за это, значит, типа, успокойте Людмилу, за это вообще-то убивают. В общем, поэтому я к этому относилась серьезно. Был такой момент, когда я просто перевезла детей к их отцу, чтобы они к нему привыкали, и чтобы, если со мной что-то случится, чтобы им было не так тяжело вот этот момент пережить. То есть вот в такой атмосфере, в общем, живу я и живут, в общем, многие.
My life was still really boring and normal, but that all changed when in 2014 I started to investigate the social media propaganda trolls.
It was kind of hard for us to get in touch with you actually when we tried to contact you in different ways. We didn't get any reply, and that's easy to understand because you have received so much hate and threats. But finally we managed, and now you're here.
I am specialized in Russia, in information warfare and extremism. And I will tell you today what happened to me after I started to investigate in 2014 the then new phenomenon of Russian information warfare, the social media propaganda trolls. And immediately I became target of Russian and international fake news campaign.
My contact information was published. So my phone number was published, my email address was published.
Just a couple of days later, I started to receive hate messages, hate SMS, hate emails from Russian-speaking people and trolls. I even received phone calls from a Ukrainian number in which someone was only shooting a gun or playing the sound of a shooting gun.
Troll activists, anonymous identities, produced a song about me. The video was published as a part of a longer campaign conducted on social media. And also Facebook helped these guys to spread it even further, because I found out that these activists had even bought visibility for posts mocking me and smearing me.
And they also, some of these activists went through old court files, and they found that when I was in my 20s, so like 15 years ago, I received a €300 fine for drug use. And they also started to contact my bosses and Wiley. They would ask my bosses, why do you recruit drug addicts?
If you are anyway appear on a social network as the critic of Kremlin, they will come to you, they will attack you, you will face trolling and cyberbullying and stuff like this online from the troll farm.
In the spring 2015, I also received a very disturbing text message. In this message, someone, the sender, pretended to be my father, who at that time had been dead for 20 years.
I know that this job is dangerous, but if you protect yourself, it's not so problematic.
How can you protect yourself?
Cautious way of life, I think. When somebody ring at my doorbell, I never open. Just because I'm not expecting anyone. Never. If you want to go to visit me, you should call first. Most of unknown numbers I won't answer. If you work with dangerous information, you're supposed to be cautious. That's all. It's like a part of the job.
How did your employer handle the situation?
Like a pro. I wouldn't do this for one day if I didn't trust my employer. And I don't think anyone else should as well, because that's really like, seriously, you're putting yourself on the stake and on the line, so you also expect your employer to work as a pro with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I think debunking of fake news and journalist investigations is the most important thing to do in Russia right now, because we are now in the situation when the old informational sphere is censored by the government, and people just don't get real information about what's going on. Actually, journalists are those who are responsible for explaining the situation, even though we are censored, even though some of journalists are killed and repressed, still there is a responsibility of showing the most painful parts of Russian politics.
It was New Year's holiday in Russia, and I was watching for a news program on one of the Russian federal channels. The narrator on TV said that there are ISIS members on Ukrainian battalion Azov. It's part of Ukrainian army.
Украинский националистический полк «Азов» пополнили боевики исламского государства. Доказательства приводят хакеры Киберберкута на своей странице в социальной сети. Взломщикам удалось получить доступ к смартфону одного из бойцов.
So the idea was that Ukrainians asked ISIS to fight for them, for Ukraine against Russia. It was too crazy for me. I thought it's impossible. I must find these people, or at least I must find the place where they made this video.
Привет каферам из Новороссии.
There's a small detail appeared on one of the pictures. You can see a duct tape. You barely can see it on the video. It's just laying on the ground. But you can see a logo of the company that produced it. It's an unusual one, so I tried to find the company that produced the duct tape. After several hours of searching, I found the online shop of the company that produced this duct tape in Podolsk. So yeah, I thought it's Podolsk, definitely. I need to find the industrial building the same as in the video and the pictures in Podolsk, because the producers of this fake video could buy the duct tape in Podolsk. Here we can see the picture that was made in the building we are looking for. This is the Soviet-era industrial standard on how you build factories. They're all the same. That's why it's so hard to find the actual place. On the small details on the buildings makes a difference. And the main point is this solid window. You can see it from here, exactly as in the pictures and in the videos. But the thing is, these small windows are different from the windows I've been looking for. It's not the place I've been looking for, unfortunately. I started my investigation. I wasn't expected it will take 1 year or 10 months to discover the actual place. I started once again looking to the pictures, analyzing it, all the little tiny objects that are on the pictures and on the video. I looked through from the window on one of the videos. You can see a mountain there. You gather coal from mountains, right? And what is the greatest coal mine region in post-Soviet countries? It's Donetsk. And Donetsk was under control of Russian power. So I decided, why not to check Donetsk? And I found more than 30 artificial mountains in Donetsk. I checked all of them and I found this place. That's the place I've been looking for. And you can see even a small door here. You see the small door? And it appears there. A small door. Isn't it beautiful? I found the previous owner of this factory, and she used to have an art museum there, one of the biggest in Eastern Europe. And they sent me this very nice picture. You can see it before the war. And I used this picture made inside the building for the illustration of my investigation. You can see the same tube, same windows, same floor, same roof on the top of my material, and you can slide it all over again. And I've spent several hours after it was published just sliding in, sliding out, before the war, after the war. Why somebody on the territory that was controlled by Russians made this video? What was the interest? The thing is that Western world tried to influence the conflict in Ukraine, so probably pro-Russian militants wanted to show USA or European Union that, look, the worst thing you can do is to put money to Ukraine. They will give it to ISIS and you will have terrorist attacks in Europe. Which is simply not true. Ukraine had no connection with ISIS, and all the terrorist attacks in Europe are not connected with, never been connected with Ukraine.
Takbir! Allahu Takbir!
I've checked how this video appeared on the media, and we have 2 federal channels that used it in their news program. They showed it without any reflection.
Безразличие к растущему фашизму на Украине, отмечают в Киберберкуте, приведет к тому, что жители получат у себя под боком миллионы оголтелых отморозков. Это цитаты тренировочной базы ваххабитов, откуда боевики смогут осуществлять атаки по всей Европе.
The result costed my time. I spent about a year, several months to cover this story, to find the actual place. And I did it, and I think it's good. It was good to find it.
В американском департаменте работало около 90 человек. И помимо там переводчиков, создателей контента и прочих, там были и аналитики. Меня зовут Андрей Захаров, я специальный корреспондент журнала РБК. Моя специализация — делать большие тексты, большие расследования. У нас было большое расследование, посвященное как раз фабрике медиа, то есть медиа подразделению фабрики. Соответственно, мы узнали пару примеров работы в США. То есть мы сказали, что фабрика работала в США, что это была очень успешная работа, потому что по количеству шеров, лайков и прочих реакций со стороны пользователей такой провокационный контент. Главная задача была нагнетать обстановку в стране.
In September 2014, already more than 2 years out from the election, the Troll Farm is working in English on multiple platforms, not just putting out text, but video, memes, editing Wikipedia pages. It's already a full spectrum operation. You had accounts which pretended to be Black Lives Matter activists, they pretended to be far right, they pretended to be far left. So they were really covering, by the look of it, as many different options as possible.
Очень грамотно было построено с точки зрения, опять же, не знаю, какого-то там анализируются болевые точки, потом по ним бьются. В этом смысле все было правильно.
Я работал на форумах. 90% из них были форумы, посвященные политике, и 10% форумы, посвященные другим вещам, но где есть раздел политика. Сначала тебе нужно там из Кентукки быть реднеком, а потом тебе нужно из какой-нибудь Миннесоты быть, например, тоже белым чуваком, который всю жизнь работал, платил налог. А через еще 15 минут тебе нужно выйти из Нью-Йорка, ну и начать на сленге на американских негров что-нибудь писать. Мне на YouTube скинули видео, где афроамериканец, но, как выяснилось, африканец, в форме американского солдата стреляет в Коран.
We're gonna show this book from 20 years.
Мне сказали, что это вот эти наши придурки сделали. Я вообще, ну что это такое? Причем там форма кривая вообще, неправильная. Потом они какого-то негра наняли и проститутку, сделали видео, и мол, якобы сенсация.
А каким образом ты посеешь смуту? Либо в комментариях к новостям, либо на политическом форуме, без разницы.
Очень грамотно с точки зрения СММ делались. То есть это такая броская картинка и в стиле мема подпись. То есть сверху какое-то утверждение или вопрос, да, снизу, соответственно, пишешь, что, там, например, ты хочешь, чтобы они стали американцами? И в Secret Boros они использовали фотографии мигрантов, какие-то мексиканцев любили постить. То есть это именно было посвящено прежде всего вопросу миграции из Мексики.
The way the accounts themselves behaved is really a textbook case of how you infiltrate a community. A lot of the narrative that they were building was the idea that the US elections were going to be rigged in favor of Hillary Clinton.
It appears stealing an election in the US may be a candidate's certain way to secure a win.
As easy as 1, 2, 3.
It was apparent from very early in 2016 that the Kremlin was conducting a campaign against Hillary Clinton. And you could see that by looking at the coverage in RT and Sputnik. It was routinely and systematically one-sided and anti-Clinton. If you looked at, for example, the account called Tennessee GOP, a lot of what it was posting was good patriotic American stuff. And then in the mix, it would start throwing in more aggressive posts against Hillary Clinton. And in fact, when the troll account was shut down by Twitter, members of the far right in the United States actually complained. They were posting to demand why this member of their group had been shut down.
Сидя в Петербурге, и провели эксперимент. Нашли веб-камеру в Нью-Йорке, открытую, и сделали в Фейсбуке ивент о том, что там в такое-то время там-то будут выдавать хот-доги. И дальше, соответственно, смотрели через веб-камеру, придут ли люди. Когда они видели, что действительно в назначенное время пришли люди, стояли и озирались, явно ожидая бесплатных хот-догов, они поняли, что можно, сидя в Петербурге, организовать мероприятие в Америке. И, в принципе, они дальше это продолжили делать, и их отношение к этому было действительно во многом, как они сами описывают, фан. То есть мы занимались фаном, потому что действительно это Буки ВКонтакте. То есть как бы в этом смысле они явно получали удовольствие от своей работы.
By mid-2016, some of the troll farm accounts had actually been in touch with Americans on the ground, and that was particularly with supporters of Donald Trump.
Pensacola for Trump!
The Troll Factory contacted American activists, particularly there was an activist in Texas with whom they got in contact, and he advised them that they needed to target particular states, what they refer to as the purple states, which could go red or could go blue, shifting from election to election, including Florida. And it's not a coincidence that that was when the troll farm really started targeting Florida as a location for its activism.
Being Patriotic, они, как я уже говорил, более, по-моему, 17 или 19, около 20 акций в поддержку Трампа во Флориде.
Once they'd created the initial platforms and the initial accounts, those accounts were then interacting with real Americans.
Go Trump! Florida's got your back. Fort Myers rally.
One of the tragedies of 2016 is that all the clues were there, but nobody put them together.
The Heart of Texas group created a public event on Facebook to occur at noon, May 21st, 2016, at the Islamic Center in Houston, Texas, to stop the Islamization of Texas. The United Muslims of America subsequently created an event on Facebook to, I quote, save Islamic knowledge. Same time, same place as the Heart of Texas event. What neither side could have known is that Russia trolls were encouraging both sides to battle in the streets and create division between real Americans. Establishing these two competing groups, paying for the ads, and causing this disruptive event in Houston cost Russia about $200. And Mr. Stretch, you commented yesterday that your company's goal is bringing people together. I would say that Facebook has failed their goal.
In April 2014, it was decided that the troll farm would interfere in the 2016 election. So that's a 2.5-year build-up period. That's a long campaign. Then if you think about the UK election in 2017, that was a 6-week build-up. So there's very little time to stand up any kind of operation. In France, it's quite an interesting case study because the Macron campaign came out very early and said, we are being targeted for fake news and disinformation by Russia. they were very upfront about saying, we've now been hacked, and we think it was Russia behind it. And so that was a case where there was a propaganda campaign, but it was too much, and it was too clumsy, and they got caught. America had been dead easy. Even when analysts had given the warning, most people had said, well, even if they are, it's not going to matter. Hillary's still going to win. And so it was really easy for Russian trolls to operate in that environment and for Russian propaganda to operate in that environment.
Did China run ads in the last election cycle that tried to impact our election?
Not that I'm aware of, Senator.
Not that you're aware of. Did Turkmenistan?
No, Senator, not that I'm aware of.
Mr. Stretch, how did Facebook, which prides itself on being able to process billions of data points, somehow not make the connection that electoral ads paid for in rubles were coming from Russia? Those are two data points.
I think in hindsight, we should have had a broader lens. There were signals we missed.
You can't put together rubles with a political ad and go like, those two data points spell out something bad.
Senator, our goal is to make sure we're addressing all forms of abuse.
My goal is for you to think through this stuff a little bit better.
This indictment serves as a reminder that people are not always who they appear to be on the internet. The indictment alleges that the Russian conspirators want to promote discord in the United States and undermine public confidence in democracy. We must not allow them to succeed.
The situation is bad and is worsening every day. As a person who studied political science in university and who I think have some understanding of how other countries became democracies, I think I have a little bit more responsibilities than other people to explain what shall we change in the country. We have to try at least to change something. And if we fail, at least we can say that, well, at least we tried.
Russian troll farm is still operating. They relocated from one business center in St. Petersburg to another, but Kremlin still need what they do, and they continue providing this service to Russian power. The content of the troll farm, orchestrated by them or spreading by them, is more and more aggressive, and the quality is rising, actually. I think it's because in some way, I mean Russian investigative journalists, trained them how to protect themselves and how to do this sophisticated disinformational campaign. Because when they started in 2013, it was very easy to debunk. You could easily say this was made in Russian troll farm. Now they are much more sophisticated. Even if you know that it was made by a troll farm, you can't prove it because they are more and more sophisticated and aggressive during the time.